There exists a threshold in the architecture of human experience, a subtle door woven into the fabric of the everyday, which most pass by without a second glance. It is marked not by any physical sign, but by a resonance, a particular frequency of sound that has, for millennia, been considered a key. The promise embedded in the phrase, "Once you hear this Egyptian mantra, you'll never be the same," is not one of mere entertainment or passing curiosity. It is a cartographer's warning that the map of your known world is about to be redrawn by a song older than its pyramids. This is an invitation to a journey that begins in the ear but culminates in the soul, a pilgrimage into the heart of a sound that the ancient Egyptians believed could harmonize the chaos of a human life with the serene, eternal rhythms of the cosmos. To encounter this mantra is to be presented with a choice, to listen as one listens to the rain, or to listen as one listens for the meaning in a sacred text, understanding that the vibration itself is the scripture. Imagine for a moment that reality is not the solid, immutable stage we presume it to be, but rather a vast, shimmering tapestry of interwoven vibrations. Every thought, every stone, every distant star is a note in a grand, cosmic symphony, a concept the ancients understood intuitively. In this grand arrangement, the human being is not a passive audience member but an instrument, perpetually tuning into tuning itself through its intentions, its fears, and its loves. We walk through our lives often feeling out of key, sensing a dissonance we cannot name, a longing for a home we cannot place. It is the faint memory of a fundamental tone to which we were once perfectly attuned. The Egyptian mantra in question is not a simple collection of syllables, it is a master tuner, a precise frequency that, when introduced into the fragile instrument of the self, has the power to recalibrate our very essence, to bring the warped strings of our being back into alignment with that primordial, universal pitch. This is the deeper, almost cosmic dimension of the practice. It transcends the modern, often diluted, interpretation of mantras as tools for stress reduction. For the priests and initiates along the Nile, sound was a technology of consciousness, as precise and potent as any architectural wonder they erected. They built with stone to mirror the heavens, and they built with sound to reshape the inner world. The mantra is a linguistic monument, an edifice of audible energy designed to navigate the duat, the inner underworld of the psyche, and emerge into the illuminated dawn of a transformed awareness. It operates on the principle that certain sonic patterns can act as solvents, dissolving the calcified layers of personal history, cultural conditioning, and the illusion of separateness that keeps us feeling like lonely islands in a vast ocean. To hear it is to initiate an alchemical process. The first hearing is often not a dramatic, thunderclap event, but more like the slow, inexorable seep of dawn light into a dark room. You may not even recognize the change at first. It begins as a subtle hum beneath the noise of your thoughts, a new gravity well in the center of your consciousness that slowly begins to pull the scattered fragments of your attention into a more coherent orbit. The promise that you will never be the same is not a threat of cataclysm, but an assurance of a gentle, yet irreversible, metamorphosis. The caterpillar, once it has dissolved into the imaginal soup of the chrysalis, cannot simply decide to reassemble itself as a caterpillar, it is committed to the process of becoming the wing. Similarly, the mantra, once truly heard and internalized, becomes an active, living agent of change within you. It is the seed of the imaginal, the blueprint for a more integrated and awakened state of being. This introduction, then, is the threshold itself. We stand before the door, speaking of what might lie beyond. We can describe the craftsmanship of the lock, the mythology of the key, and the testimonies of those who have crossed over, but the actual crossing is an act of personal resonance. What follows is an exploration of this profound phenomenon, an unpacking of its core themes, a descent into its symbolic narratives, and a grounding of its cosmic principles into the soil of daily life. We are about to explore not just a historical artifact, but a living, breathing tool for transformation that speaks to the most urgent and timeless yearning of the human spirit, the yearning to remember who we truly are, to shed the false skins of a limited identity, and to resonate in harmony with the fundamental music of existence. The door is here. The key is the sound. The journey awaits on the other side of a single, willing act of listening. To approach the core of this Egyptian mantra is to attempt to describe the anatomy of a star by gazing at its light. We are dealing with structures of immense power and subtlety whose essence is energy itself. The mantra does not operate on a single, linear plane of meaning but rather radiates its influence through several interconnected thematic pillars, each a vital current in the river of transformation it initiates. The first of these, the foundational bedrock upon which all else is built, is the principle of vibration as divine architecture. The ancient Egyptian worldview was not one of inert matter animated by distant gods, but a universe perpetually sung into existence. The creator deity, Ta, was said to have conceived the world in his heart and then brought it into being with his tongue, thought and word as the primordial creative acts. The mantra is a conscious participation in this ongoing creation, a deliberate and precise utterance designed to echo the original, formative vibrations of the cosmos. It is not a request sent out to a separate deity, it is an act of tuning the individual human instrument to the pitch of the divine, so that one's own life becomes a coherent, harmonious expression of that fundamental creative power. When you chant this mantra, you are not asking for a change, you are vibrating a change into being, aligning the microcosm of your being with the macrocosm of a universe built on sound. Interwoven with this sonic foundation is the second profound theme, as above, so below, as within, so without. This Hermetic principle, famously inscribed on the Emerald Tablet, was a cornerstone of Egyptian mystical thought. It posits a perfect, resonant correspondence between the celestial and the terrestrial, the cosmic and the personal. The pyramids were not just tombs, they were geodetic instruments, anchoring celestial geometries to the earthly plane. The mantra functions in an identical manner, but internally. It is a pyramid of sound built within the landscape of the soul. The above in this context is the eternal, unchanging realm of archetypes and divine principles, the harmonious laws of Ma'at, which govern truth, balance, and order. The below is the messy, chaotic, and temporal realm of human experience. The mantra becomes the mediating frequency, the architectural plan that allows the order of the above to manifest within the chaos of the below. By internalizing this sonic structure, you are not merely reciting words, you are constructing an inner sanctum, a holy of holies within your own consciousness where the divine can take residence and from which its order can radiate outward, influencing your health, your relationships, and your perception of the world. This leads us to the third core concept, which is the mantra's function as a key to the subconscious Nile. The Egyptians saw the Nile as the source of all life, a predictable, renewing force that cut through the barren desert. Psychologically, this is a perfect metaphor for the human mind. The conscious mind is the cultivated, sun-drenched land along the banks, ordered, known, and visible. The subconscious, however, is the great, dark, fecund river itself, teeming with primal energies, forgotten memories, and potent archetypes, the crocodiles and lotus flowers of our inner world. Most of our existence is lived on the banks, dealing with the surface-level phenomena, while the deep, life-giving current flows on, largely ignored and untapped. The mantra is a vessel designed to navigate this inner river. Its specific phonetic sequence is crafted to bypass the critical, analytical gatekeeper of the conscious mind and sink directly into the fertile silt of the subconscious. There, it plants a seed of intention, a code of order and light that gradually transforms the very waters from which our thoughts and emotions spring. It is a reclamation of the source, a way to purify the subconscious currents so that what flows up to irrigate the conscious mind is no longer muddy with fear and fragmentation, but is clear, life-sustaining, and aligned with our deepest will. Finally, these themes converge into a fourth, overarching purpose, the alchemy of the name. In Egyptian cosmology, to know the true name of a thing or a being was to hold power over its essence. A name was not a label, it was a summary of its soul, a vibrational signature. The great journey of the soul after death, as detailed in the Book of the Dead, was a process of being tested, of having to correctly name the gods and the parts of one's own heart to prove one's mastery and integrity. This mantra is, in its most esoteric sense, the process of discovering and speaking your own true name, not the one given to you at birth, but the resonant identity of your highest, most authentic self, the Ren, or secret name, known only to you and the gods. The repetitive, rhythmic engagement with the mantra is a ritual of self-naming. It is a sonic forge where the base metal of the ego, with its attachments, its fears, and its illusions of separateness, is subjected to the intense heat and precise hammering of sacred sound. The goal is to transmute this base metal into the gold of the enlightened Ka, the vital spirit that is a perfect vessel for the divine. You are not just hearing a mantra, you are participating in the most sacred of Egyptian mysteries, the creation and affirmation of your own immortal, resonant identity. These four pillars, vibration as creation, cosmic correspondence, subconscious navigation, and the alchemy of the name, form the conceptual temple within which the mantra works its magic. They are not separate doctrines but interlocking chambers in a single, grand design to facilitate the soul's evolution from a state of forgetful fragmentation to one of conscious, resonant wholeness. To truly comprehend the transformative power of this mantra, one must move beyond the conceptual and descend into the realm of symbol and story, where truth is not told but experienced as a living current. The mantra is not merely a sequence of sounds, it is a vessel for a profound symbolic narrative, a mythic journey that the soul undertakes each time it is invoked. It is the script for a sacred drama performed on the stage of the inner world, a drama that mirrors the most pivotal journey in Egyptian cosmology, the nocturnal voyage of the sun god, Ra, through the perilous, 12-hour landscape of the Duat. This is not a mere antiquated myth, but a perennial map of the psyche, and the mantra is the boat that carries the conscious self, our personal Ra, through the darkness toward the inevitable, glorious dawn. The first movement of this inner drama is the sunset and the descent. As you begin the mantra, you are enacting the setting of the sun, the conscious self willingly surrendering its daytime dominion over the known world. This is a sacred relinquishment, a letting go of the ego's need to control and categorize. The initial syllables are the closing of the eyes, the turning inward, the acceptance of a guided journey into the subconscious Duat. This is not a journey into nothingness, but into the fecund, potential-filled darkness from which all life springs. Here, in the first hours of the night, the mantra serves as the solar bark itself, a craft of light and sound navigating waters that are simultaneously the neural pathways of your own brain and the cosmic river of Nun, the primordial waters that existed before creation. The rhythmic repetition is the steady oarstroke of the boatman, a constant, reassuring pulse in the overwhelming silence and strangeness of the inner realms. As the journey deepens, the mantra becomes the weapon and the shield against the demonic forces of Apep, the great serpent of chaos, non-existence, and fragmentation. In the myth, Ra must battle Apep each night to ensure the sun's rebirth. Psychologically, Apep is the embodiment of our own inner chaos, the swirling vortex of unresolved trauma, self-sabotaging beliefs, primal fears, and the sheer, undifferentiated noise of a mind untethered from its center. These are the lords of the Duat, the shadowy aspects of ourselves that rise to meet the light of our awareness as we descend. The mantra, with its precise and hallowed vibration, is the spear of Seth, the god of necessary chaos who defends the solar bark. It does not annihilate these shadows, for they are part of the whole, but it holds them at bay. Its resonant frequency creates a protective sphere of coherence, allowing the traveling consciousness to observe these chaotic energies without being consumed by them. Each recitation is a thrust of light that says, "I am not you," creating the psychic space necessary for integration and healing. The heart of the nocturnal journey, and the most profound symbolic function of the mantra, is the union with Osiris. Around the 6th hour of the Duat, Ra's bark merges with the body of Osiris, the god of the underworld, resurrection, and fertile decay. Osiris, dismembered and restored, represents the latent, dormant potential for wholeness that lies within the deepest strata of the psyche. He is the seed in the winter soil, the blueprint of the perfected self waiting for the animating spark. The mantra, at its deepest point of focus and absorption, facilitates this sacred merger. The vibrating self, the traveling Ra, consciously unites with the still, silent Osiris within. This is not a battle but a marriage, a hieros gamos of the active and receptive principles of the soul. In this moment, The mantra is the language of this union, the vibrational bridge across which the life-giving energy of the conscious self flows to awaken the dormant, sovereign self. It is the electrical current that jump-starts the heart of the God within the sarcophagus of your own subconscious. From this union springs the final, triumphant act of the drama, the dawn and the rebirth of the scarab. Having been fortified by the union with Osiris, the solar bark, now carrying the essence of both Ra and the resurrected God, emerges from the eastern mountains. This is the climax of the mantra's session, the point where the focused attention begins to return to the waking world. But you do not return the same. You are now Khepri, the scarab beetle god, the morning sun manifest as a self-created being, rolling the renewed sun, the illuminated consciousness, up into the sky of your daily life. The mantra has facilitated a complete alchemical cycle: dissolution, purification, union, and rebirth. The symbolic narrative is not just a story you contemplate, it is a process you undergo. The sounds of the mantra are the very substance of the bark, the weapon, the bridge, and the dawn itself. You have navigated the underworld, faced your chaos, united with your deepest potential, and returned to the world bearing the light of a self that is more integrated, more conscious, and more authentically powerful than the one that set sail at sunset. You have, in the most literal symbolic sense, died to the old and been reborn to the new, all within the sacred container of a single, focused practice. To speak only of cosmic principles and underworld journeys is to risk leaving the mantra suspended in the realm of pure abstraction, a beautiful but untouchable star. Its true power, however, is revealed not in the escape from the world, but in its seamless, grounding application within it. The grand, symbolic narrative of the solar bark's journey is, in fact, a precise blueprint for navigating the complexities of our daily existence. The challenge, and the great work, is to build a bridge sturdy enough to carry the resonant gold mind in the depths of meditation into the leaden moments of traffic jams, difficult conversations, and personal anxieties. This is the alchemy of practical integration, where the mantra ceases to be something you do and transforms into something you are, a living, breathing lens through which you perceive and interact with the entirety of your life. The first and most fundamental practice is the establishment of a daily, rhythmic encounter with the sound. This should not be approached as a frantic attempt to snatch enlightenment from a busy schedule, but as the construction of a personal temple in time. Just as the Nile's flood and retreat define the Egyptian year, creating a predictable rhythm of fertility and renewal, so too does a consistent practice create a fertile inner landscape. It need not be long, even a few minutes spent in the morning, before the demands of the day have fully crystallized, can serve as the dawn rite. In this quiet space, you are not meditating in a vague sense, you are actively launching the solar bark of your awareness. You are setting the tonal center for the day's symphony. The real-world implication of this simple act is profound. It creates a psychic anchor. When the storms of stress or confusion arise later, a critical email, a moment of overwhelm, you can recall the vibrational feeling of the mantra. It becomes a touchstone of inner stability, a remembered frequency of peace that you can hum silently beneath your breath, recentering yourself amidst the chaos. The practice on the cushion is the drilling, the application in the meeting room or the grocery store line is the wellspring from which you draw. This leads to the mantra's role as a tool for the alchemy of perception. We are constantly interpreting the world through filters constructed from past experiences, biases, and fears, the various lords of the duat we carry within. A perceived slight from a colleague can trigger a cascade of inner narrative rooted in insecurity, the serpent of pep rising to consume your peace. The mantra, when used as an immediate, internal response, acts as a solvent for these reactive filters. Instead of being swept away by the initial wave of anger or hurt, you inwardly sound the syllable. This vibrational shift creates a momentary pause, a sacred space between stimulus and response. In that space, you are no longer the reactive ego, you are the conscious navigator of the bark. You can then choose to see the situation not as a personal attack, but as the other person's own journey through their duat. The mantra thus becomes a mechanism for practicing ma'at, truth and balance, in real time, transforming potential conflicts into opportunities for compassionate witnessing and conscious choice. Furthermore, the mantra's principle of as above, so below finds its ultimate test in our relationships. Every interaction becomes a microcosm of the union with Osiris. Consider a misunderstanding with a loved one. The easy, unconscious path is to fortify your own position, to see them as an adversary. The path illuminated by the mantra is to seek the Osiris within them, their own dormant wholeness, their essential goodness that may be obscured by their own pain or fear. By holding the resonant frequency of the mantra in your heart during a difficult conversation, you cease to communicate from the surface-level ego and begin to communicate from that deeper, unified field of consciousness. You become a tuning fork that can, through calm presence and empathetic listening, help the other person's own dissonant vibrations settle toward harmony. You are not chanting at them, you are being the chant, creating a relational field where healing and understanding can occur. This is the mantra moving from a personal meditation to an interpersonal ministry. Finally, the most profound real-world implication is the cultivation of what can be called sonic sovereignty. The modern world is a cacophony of competing frequencies, the jarring ping of notifications, the frantic tempo of news cycles, the persuasive vibrations of advertising. This sonic environment is a form of psychic pollution, constantly pulling our attention outward and fragmenting our consciousness. The regular, devoted practice of the Egyptian mantra is an act of reclaiming your inner soundscape. It is the establishment of a clear, strong, sovereign signal amidst the noise. As this inner signal grows stronger, you become less susceptible to the manipulative or chaotic frequencies of the external world. Your decisions begin to originate from a place of inner resonance rather than external pressure. Your creative expressions become more authentic. Your very presence becomes a calming, coherent influence in your environment. You walk through the world not as a separate self buffeted by events, but as a walking, talking temple, a localized point of the ancient, enduring harmony of Ma'at, bringing order to chaos, light to darkness, and meaning to the mundane, simply by the quality of consciousness you carry, a consciousness forged and continually refined in the sacred fire of the sound. And so we arrive at the banks of the eternal river, not as we left it, but with the first light of a new dawn glinting upon its waters. This exploration, from the conceptual pillars of vibration and correspondence, through the mythic descent into the symbolic duat, and into the grounding practice of daily life, reveals itself not as a linear progression, but as a single, unified field of understanding. The Egyptian mantra is the thread that binds these realms, a golden cord connecting the cosmic to the personal, the mythic to the mundane, the forgotten self to the remembered one. It is not an exotic artifact to be studied from behind a museum's glass, but a living, breathing technology of the soul, as relevant now in our age of digital fragmentation as it was in the age of stone and sand. Its promise, that you will never be the same, is the promise of a fundamental homecoming, a recalibration of your very being to a frequency of wholeness that has been humming at the heart of creation since the first word was spoken from the silence of none. The journey with the mantra is, in its final essence, a process of remembering. We began with the notion of a forgotten tone, a fundamental harmony from which we have drifted. The entire path of engagement with this sacred sound is a methodical and compassionate practice of recollection. You remember that you are not a solitary note, but an integral part of a cosmic symphony. You remember that the chaos you perceive without is a reflection of disarray within, and that you hold the tool to establish order. You remember, through the symbolic nightly journey, that death and rebirth are not singular events at the end of a life, but constant, cyclical processes that can be consciously navigated for continuous renewal. And most importantly, you remember your own true name, not the label you were given, but the resonant identity of your sovereign, authentic self, the Ka-perfected, the sun born anew from its own depths. The mantra does not give you anything you lack, it simply strips away the accumulated dust of a lifetime so you can see the gold that was always there. This is the transformational call that echoes from the halls of Karnak to the quiet of your own room. It is not a call to abandon the world, but to engage with it from a place of profound, unshakable center. The world does not need more people who have temporarily escaped its pressures in meditation, it needs more people who can bring the clarity, balance, and compassion of that meditative state into the heart of the marketplace, the home, and the global community. It needs living anchors of Ma'at. Your transformation, therefore, is not a private affair. As you stabilize in this new, more resonant way of being, you become a subtle but potent force for healing in the collective field. Your coherence contributes to a larger coherence. Your peace becomes a ripple that touches the shores of other lives, often in ways you will never see or know. You become a point of light, not by striving to be brilliant, but simply by having cleared the obstructions that prevented your innate light from shining forth. The invitation stands, as it has for millennia. The threshold is not a physical place, but a moment of decision, the decision to truly listen, to allow a sound older than history to perform its ancient work within the temple of your own body and mind. The risks are not of cataclysm, but of irreversible growth. The caterpillar, once committed, cannot return to its larval life. You may find that old habits, relationships, and ways of thinking that were born from a state of dissonance can no longer coexist with the harmony you are cultivating. This is not a loss, but a necessary shedding, the price of a greater freedom. The call is to embrace this gentle, relentless unfolding. Let the mantra be your constant companion, not as a taskmaster, but as a master tuner, a navigator, and a friend. Sound it in the morning to set your course. Hum it in the challenges to hold your center. Feel it in the silence to remember your name. You have been given the key to a door within yourself. The other side is not a destination, but a different way of traveling through the beautiful, heartbreaking, and magnificent journey of being human. The mantra is the boat, the map, and the wind. All that is required is for you to step aboard and set sail.